everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
Today we're taking a look at survival of the fattest. Get it? It's not the fittest, it's the fattest. Because these critters want to...
I never put that together.
You serious?
No.
Oh, good. I was terrified for a second. These critters want to collect food for the upcoming winter.
They want to survive.
They want to survive, and so that's the idea. You're going to be foraging, you're going to be gathering food, you're going to be pulling off tricks to mess with your opponents a little bit, trying to come out on top. Now, as you can see, what we've got here is a Kickstarter, what do they call it?
Deluxe.
Kickstarter edition.
Yep.
There's minis in here, there's... I don't know exactly what all the differences are.
There's minis, there's some holographic cards, like the wild cards are holographic. I think that might be it, though.
And in the overview, I will show you a quick look at, a mini or two, but I'm mostly using the cardboards. They look better from on, top down, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the game, see a little bit of how it works, some of the moving parts. We'll come on back, we'll tell you what we think of it. Here we've got the game set up and ready to begin. The players are going to be playing over 3 seasons, each one with 4 rounds. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner, and you get those points from completing recipes up here that you have reserved. If you complete these, you will turn them face down, put them over here in completed recipes. You'll be getting victory points from that. You also get victory points from completing them out here in the market. And if you do them from there, then you're going to be scoring this number down here instead of the one up there. And you get a special ability tucking this card under your board and getting that ongoing or one-time ability. You'll be adding those two things up, subtracting points if you have any trap cards in your stash, this area right here, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The decks of cards out there come from one large deck shuffled up and then split in 4 even piles. We also flip over some face-up cards right here. Most everything out there in those cards is going to be items, so different foods, traps, and then special food as well that looks like this symbol here, the sort of star fruit, and that's wild. That can stand in for anything. I happen to begin as Flit, the character I chose, with 2 reserved cards right here. And in this game, I'm going to be showing you some standees, but if you have the Kickstarter one, then you might also have some miniatures in your box, and you could use these to move around the board. Here's a couple of them that you can see, and I have a couple of characters set up aside, though everyone in the game would normally have one of these boards in front of them. So let's talk about the round sequence in the game. Here I have a player aid. I'll put that out here for myself, and I'll show you on the screen what that looks like. So everyone is going to, the very first thing you'll do is you're going to determine the turn order by everyone revealing the highest forage card in their hand. And so we would all simultaneously show this. I show that my highest card is a 4. This player happens to have a 6, and this player has the highest, a 7. If there was a tie, then we keep on checking down by seeing who has the next highest, and so on. So this player is going to be first. They're going to get this token right here. That token is going to just denote that they are first, but if they would also allow them a special wild if we were scoring. And so everyone can put their hand, hide that card again, and they are going to go through a few different steps. Again, looking here at the round sequence. So we've done step 1, determine turn order. Step 2 would be action. So every player, starting with this player, of course, will now go through all these steps. So the first one is recycle. Recycle lets you basically take 2 or more cards, discard them from your hand, and draw that same number back up -1. Okay? Then you can play tricks, and every character has different tricks that they begin with in their deck that they can play based on the character itself. So for example, Flit right here, my little bird fella, has this special trick that says if I visit the market this turn, I may use 1 food from my hand as a wild, as shown right there. Okay, this player might perhaps play one of these tricks. They could play to the rescue, or they could play 1 critter's trash right here. You can play as many as you want to, as long as you are holding that card. Once you are done with that, then you are going to visit a location. And so this player perhaps would visit, let's say, they'll go to Greenvale. Okay, you go to Greenvale there, and they are going to take that special ability, draw 2 cards. Over there, if they go to Pinecrest, rich. They can stash one. That means take a food card from their hand and put it in their stash. If you go over here to the market, you may reserve one of these up top, or you can complete one of these from right here. As long as you are holding that food, you discard that to the bottom of a pile and take that card and put it down below your board. If you go up to Pebblebrook up there, you reveal 3 from the top of the deck, look at them and put them on the top or the bottom, your choice. And if you come over here to the trading post, you can either swap one of these with one in your hand, or you can collect one from the top of the deck, and I believe it goes to your discard pile. So those are the locations out there. There's also one more, which is your stash. You begin in your stash, but if you ever go back to it, then you can stash things in your stash from your hand. Those cards go there face down. You may not look at these, and when we go through a reset phase, you're going to be using everything in your stash to try to complete these things up here. So you're trying to remember that. You also need to, by the end of the game, feed your critter. If you do not feed your critter by the end of the game, well, you actually lose straight up. You cannot possibly win. But once you do so, you also flip this over and you have a special bonus. So you want to do that as quickly as possible. So that is the locations. They each have a special ability. And once you're done with that, then we go to step 3, which is foraging. So the way this works is everybody's going to play forage cards and in turn order, starting again from the start player. Let's say my character went here. Let's say I went there, okay? And I reserved another one for some reason. I also want this one. I put it there like so. And then this player, let's say they went here to Greenvale also, okay? Now, during the forage, players are going to play these forage cards. And so perhaps this player will play all 3 of these. He's going to play all 3 of those cards. And then this player is going to play 2 of them. These 2 is what they're going to play. Okay? Whoever played the most is going to be the one who starts dealing with that location first. So we're going to reveal cards from it equal to however many forage cards were played. And the 3 places where this happens are the 3 at the top, okay? So both players happen to go there together, but if they had gone separate places, then they just do this on their own right there. So we have 5 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are going to be revealed, and then the players are going to take them. It's a fantastic stash. Look at that. So starting from whoever played the most, they'll take one. So this player would take one, and then this player would take one of these, and then this player takes one. It's one at a time. Not a lot of decisions here. And so that's it. These cards go to discard piles, and they have split the loot. Sometimes, however, that loot is not as advantageous. There's different kinds of food, but sometimes you are going to have traps. And if there's a trap there, and it's sort of what's left to take, then you got to take it. This one is going to clamp up, just basically clump up your hand. It does nothing for you. If you end up putting it in your stash, it actually costs you a victory point, but you don't have to do that. You can always just deal with the fact that it's in your hand, and even when it's time to recycle your hand, you're allowed to discard it and another thing to your discard pile and draw a new one. So you can basically treat it as half a card in that instance. So that is how those goodies, all that food, comes out of these decks. These 3 at the top have this foraging that happens. With this one, you can swap or take one, and over here you get new recipes, and they are replenished as you go. Having done all that and revealed the cards, drafted the cards, then we go to the end, which is the discard and the draw step, where we are going to progress, move the progress token there, advance the season. We are going to discard all the cards, obviously, that we gained or played, but also anything we wanted from our hands, not traps. You cannot discard traps. You can only recycle them, right? And then lastly, you're going to draw back up to your hand size, which is normally 5. Having done all that, we go to the beginning again, where we once again will show the highest card we have in our hand and determine turn order that way. When we go, like I said, from the end of one season to the beginning of the other, when we do that reset step, then you are going to grab your entire stash, You've been putting cards here when you go to the stash, and also when you go to Pinecrest Ridge, you can stash one from your hand, put it face down right here. You're going to be spending these to complete these up here, all right? As you do, say I have one honey and one berry, then I would let that go, and I'm going to take this card and turn it face down and put it down here where it says completed recipes, okay? So that's done there. I do not get any special abilities. I'm going to get these victory points at the end of the game. I'll remind you, if you complete one from here, right here with this ability, complete one, then same deal, you have to pay those things from your hand, however. And then this goes below your board, showing that, and you're going to get this many victory points and some special ongoing, possibly, or one-time ability. So there you go. At the end of all three of these seasons, you're going to score victory points. The ones below your board, the ones in here. If you end up putting up if you put up any traps in your stash, they're -1. Adding up all that together and seeing who's got the most points, who is the fattest, and they are going to be the winner of the game. So this is one of those games that we saw on crowd surfing. When we were doing crowd surfing, we saw and we're like, oh, that looks cute.
Yes.
It looks interesting. It looks kind of cute and silly, and it might be a good game, but we're not so sure.
Yeah, it looked like the artwork was going to be doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You know, I was intrigued because of the artwork, but the more I read about it, I was like, I don't think this is a game for me at all. You know, take that. It's got some memory element, like two of my least favorite things in games.
There's some red flags, right?
Right, very much.
I'll just come out and say it right now. This game, I think, is good, and I like the game, and it has those things. It has memory. It has take that, and neither one of them bother or even detract, honestly, for me from what the game is and does.
I think so, with one caveat, and this is probably my biggest negative of the game, is I don't think it's good at 2 players. It plays 1 to 4. I've not tried the solo. I don't think it's a good 2-player game because I think those things play a bigger part in it, and it feels much swingier and luck-based at 2. It's not as balanced because it's not spreading out those disadvantages.
Right, there's no self-checks and balances between the players, right? I agree with you. I think the more the merrier here. Play 4.
Right.
Play 4.
Yeah.
3 is fine, but play the more the better. The game has more gameplay than I thought there was going to be from the description, right? Yeah. It's a deck building game at its core. You are collecting food in various places in different ways, and then using that food to complete the recipes, right? You're kind of stashing it, completing, but there's more steps and more kind of going on in there than I thought there was going to be at first. Like, for example, this is something I really, really like, the recipes for food. You can collect it and tuck it under your board and complete it at the end of a season. Hopefully you have the stuff you need in your stash to complete that thing. Or you can complete it right from the board with food in your hand of cards, and then you get a special ability. You get fewer points, but then you have a special ability.
Or special scoring or something like that, yeah.
So I really like that. I like that there are kind of multiple ways to go about things. I like the different critters. That's fun too. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here that I wasn't expecting.
Right, and I think that what you talked about where there's 2 ways to complete the recipes, that really shows some flexibility with the deck building, because you say deck building, you think that you want to have lots of cards in your deck, they're worth something. There's a first play of the game, you learn really quick that wasted food doesn't get you anything.
Yeah.
Extra cards in your stash doesn't get you anything. Extra cards in your deck doesn't get you anything unless you have one of those scoring objectives, you know, recipes that you've tucked. And to actually tuck it, do the recipes from up in the completed ones, you have to have sequenced it correctly, you know, and make sure that you have it in your stash and things like that. So I think it gives some flexibility in just a generic deck builder because, yes, in order to stash it, you have to take an extra step to stash it. But then that part of your deck is going to be used differently to complete recipes. So I think it's really leads to some interesting decisions on how do you deck build versus how do you deck preserve, I guess.
Yeah,
you know, but also making sure that you're preserving it for a reason. Because if you're just stashing it away, it's not, you know, it's not like in Earth, for example, where everything in your compost is 1 point. There's nothing in there unless you have some way to use it.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes your it makes the deck of cards thinner, so you'll see your 4-edge cards more quickly or your tricks more quickly. But you also won't have that food if you wanted to complete something from the table.
Right. Yeah.
There's a nice back and forth there, you know? As I alluded to, the critters are different. They have their own kind of feel. They pull off little tricks. Now, to be fair, I think this game, in many ways, feels like someone's first big Kickstarter. It could use more clarity.
Yes.
It could use just more explanations, a more, I don't know, experienced hand when it comes to writing rule books or an FAQ at the end of the rule book. There are critters with unique abilities, and there's a lot of like, well, what about this? How does that rule interact with this? The rabbits, there's 2 of them. Do they behave as 2 things or 1? When? How?
Right.
There's some issues
one
there.
Go here and one go there. No, and I think those answers are now accessible on like BGG forums and stuff like that. But like you're saying, it has that kind of unpolished first rule book, first big package kind of feel from them. There's not been a character yet that I haven't needed to look something up because it's not in the rule book. There's not like a little player card for your specific character, something like that.
Yeah.
So I do think that left a little more to be wanted.
I agree, absolutely. And this is a game that feels like it's lacking some polish. Here's what's weird about this one. It doesn't bother me that much that this game does not feel as polished. And I don't know if it's because this designer is also the artist. And normally those are 2 very different skill sets. And I think that Lee Smith is pretty good at both.
I think so,
I'm impressed by that combination. Maybe it's the fact that, again, I was expecting something else, and the game ends up being a really kind of it has a wide possibility of people that could like it, you know? I could see gamers enjoying this as a light, kind of silly filler, but I think it's a great game for folks that dabble in board gaming a little bit, and they're like, ooh, I've played some of the stuff at Target or Barnes & Noble. This is cute. What is it? Okay, it has some of the things I'm familiar with. Take that, like, haha, or going somewhere and taking stuff. But it gives you some new ideas. It's a good mix. It's sort of a nice stew of stuff, you know? So those rough edges, that lack of polish, doesn't bother me as much in this game as it does sometimes in other games perhaps from companies or people I feel like, oh, you should know better.
And I think usually the designer and art being the same person is usually a red flag. And I don't know if I realized that in the Kickstarter. That was too long ago. I don't remember. But I didn't realize it when we were playing, and I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been a red flag that I think I was very pleasantly surprised when we realized it afterward. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's the same? Oh, that's so cool. Wow, it doesn't feel like he should stick to doing art or he should stick to doing design. Right. You know, it felt like a good mesh of the 2. And for that, I definitely feel like the theme was evoked through like the artwork and stuff. I think that was a really good marriage of those 2. So I think it worked very well in this case.
So for me, I'm coming down on this one at a 7.5. I like it. I recommend it. I especially recommend it, again, to people who dabble in board games, who like this cutesy theme, who like the sort of critters of the forest. I don't know. I think it's a fun game, and it feels like it puts that fun first over things like clever mechanisms or, ooh, here's something you've never seen before. No, that's not what you're here for. You're here because the critters are cute, and you're going to be trying to grab some food, and haha, I went where you went, and I took this berry that you needed. So yeah, for me, a 7.5, that's a surprise for me. I was definitely, again, not expecting to enjoy this game. And the more I play, the more I kind of find myself smiling, enjoying it. So that's where I'm coming down.
My thoughts are similar. I'm at an 8 though on it. I would describe this as the party game that I don't mind playing. Now it's definitely heavier than most party games, but I also dislike most party games.
Sure.
This is, and obviously it's a smaller group, only up to 4, but this is kind of what I want for that niche, or for those non-gamers that come over. I don't think it's going to welcome them into the board gaming hobby, so I wouldn't quite call it a welcoming game either, but I think it's going to be familiar enough to non-gamers, but fun enough for gamers, and has mechanisms that I do like, deck building, but with enough little twist and a great theme behind it. Like you said, I just find myself smiling and enjoying this game a lot. So this was a really pleasant surprise because of how many red flags there are, and all those red flags play out very, very well in this game. The designer being the artist as well, being a first time, it having Take That, it has memory in it. Neither of those, they're so small and you can overcome them with your strategy.
And those things are okay in games. We forget, that it's okay for a game to have memory elements. As long as it doesn't kill the game. And it's okay for it to have some Take That, as long as it doesn't kill what I was doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
As long as the meanest person doesn't win, and as long as the smartest person doesn't win, or the one who can remember the best doesn't win.
Yes.
There's other ways it's balanced in the game to where it doesn't kill it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's an 8. I really was very pleasantly surprised and very happy with this game.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Survival of the Fattest. And that's going to do it for us on this one. This is a good one to check out in the Dice Tower library, too. So if you come to one of our events, I'll teach it to you.
There you go.
Maybe you'll teach it to them.
We'll see. Depends on who. I'll teach it.
That's going to be it, everybody. Thanks very much. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
Enjoy hoarding food.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.